Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Popcorn Watchlist podcast, where we discuss and celebrate our favorites in TV and film. I am your host, Xavier, and today we're going to take it into one of our favorites in TV shows, and a certain way that we got now a live-action version of it. I know everybody's excited, a little scared and nervous because of the news around it, but we're going to go ahead and talk about the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender. I know a lot of us, and myself and my fellow Popcorn Watchlist panelists here, have in some way, shape, or form grown up with the show. Whether if it was Anthony and I watching it like towards the tail end of our high school, going and like it ending in college, to where Danny and Zach here probably watching it much significantly younger. But that show's probably one of
middle school.
Yeah,
I was 7.
I think you were 7 when that show came out.
I was 7 when it came out. Yeah.
The impact that I think that show had has been like astounding. It's probably one of Nickelodeon's best things ever made. Arguably, I would say like the best thing. And this is me growing up from like the 90s, watching like Doug and Rugrats.
Rocket Power.
Dude, Rocket Power.
Real monsters.
I'm talking about like top tier stuff, like Hey Arnold, and then it's like, hey, here's Rocket Power. I was like, that's like mid tier best. Ren and Stimpy, which you go back and watch, and your brain is going to be melting in terms of how they did that. But somewhere along the lines, they had the pitch from the two creators of Airbender, and we got this really kick-ass show. Great animation, great music, great arcs. Like, this was a show that really started to elevate like network animation. I know like Anthony likes seeing is one person who I know who loves like whenever shows have a little bit of those fillers, because it creates character building. And so then when we see that live action shows and people get mad, we're like, you don't even know. Like, you guys need to get with it. So the main thing we wanted to do is kind of talk about it. There's no way to talk about this live action show without spoilers first and foremost, but also without doing some of the comparisons to the animation. But I think we can talk about some of our real favorite moments that overall I think the show kind of nails in terms of character establishment, development, and good effects and good fight choreography. Talking about good effects and fight choreography and faithfulness to the show, full disclaimer, and I'll let Zach go ahead and talk about another piece of Airbender media very quickly.
Because this show, it doesn't take 7 people to move a freaking rock.
It took one guy to actually do way more stuff in that one flashback sequence.
The very beginning of the show.
And that too, yeah.
Was already like better than that whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah, the intro, I think it was like the first 20 minutes really almost of the first episode. They added this whole extended kind of like made for the show backstory or flashback, or not flashback, because it was technically in the past already, where we kind of see how the genocide started and took place and what happened to
the decimation of the Airbenders by Sozin, Fire Lord Sozin. Anyway, we talking about some Airbender lore stuff. We talk about that, and I think that's all we'll have to say about that. To quote one Forrest Gump, right? There'll be no other mentioning. There'll be no other mentioning of the thing that shall not be mentioned.
Yeah. Because it doesn't exist.
Zach's still in denial. Meanwhile, Anthony and I are in that movie theater in utter disbelief and shock.
I was just like shaking my head the whole movie. Even even back then, since I had younger brothers that watched the cartoon and they liked it too, even they were like, this movie was garbage.
I think everyone said this movie was
like
garbage.
Little kids who enjoy the show, they watched that movie and they just couldn't believe what they saw.
So going into this, we were hoping for some redemption. It was like, hey man, like I know the bar was set basically like,
either super high with the show or super low with the movie.
Yeah, so it's just like, is there an in between? Like, give me an. I was there, like just give me an in between and I'll be happy, because the bar is set like way below the sea table, or like the ground level of where you can go, like subterranean almost. So I was, really going into it and like, okay, let me figure this out. Let's see what we got. And, I think for the most part, I think if we go about like comparing to the show, like I have to kind of first talk about like the casting, because there's always going to be like, oh man, like I'm a little scared about the casting, or like what's going to happen here. And so like, but overall, I think like everyone that was cast was pretty spot on.
I like the cast. They were all fun.
Yeah, the whole cast was great. Even like some of the side characters, everybody, I think for the most part that was cast was freaking spot on. Like, and if you even go back and want to watch really wholesome content, like you have to look back at like the announcement when each of the cast members got the parts. Like Ian Owsley as Sokka, like hands down is probably like the best casted out of everybody, I think. But like his reaction to like getting it, like, dude, this is like knowing that like they're all really excited for the role, not just because it's like, as an actor, like, yeah, it's a job, but it's like, hey, like this is such a revered piece of media and like art, really, I would say, that like they want to do it justice. And I think for the most part, like given the material that they had, like everybody put a lot into their roles.
Yeah, because a lot of the hype for the original show, or like the popularity of the original show, what started to ramp up again in the last few years because of well, for one, them announcing Avatar Studios, and then the show's coming to Netflix, which is weird because no one mentions that it used to be on Netflix many years before. People forget that it was on there, but
many
Netflix
years
was
before. Like, dude,
Netflix was a Netflix. No. I mean, like this. It was on Netflix in like
2013
like
or whatever.
yeah, like way
When it was-
back then.
when it was
early
first streaming.
2013 was many years ago. And I was like,
Yeah.
5 years ago, we talking about no.
And then they also announced like a
and they took it
movie
out.
too, right?
What?
Yeah, they
Another
announced
movie?
a new movie.
Yeah, they announced I think 3 projects.
Yeah.
Total. It was like 2 animated movies and a series.
But this was after they left. The original creators left the Netflix project, and we're like, we're gonna
due to creative
do something
differences.
else.
Yeah.
In quotes, creative differences. Whatever that means. But
And we kind of we see why. We see what the creative differences ended up being. So, I mean, some for the good, but for the most part, maybe shouldn't have been done.
So what I would say, and also the prefaces, kind of just going through it, since the first season of the Netflix show kind of tries to do a lot with the first season, book 1 of the animated show. Like we don't have to go into like books 2 and 3 or whatever. We just talk about how the overall like comparisons with book 1. If we kind of keep it there. So
Yeah.
like again, if I talk about the casting, that the casting is all great.
it's pretty good. I think I didn't really like they barely showed them, but like Azula and her friends. I think they were like okay, but they barely got anything to do. I didn't really find Azula like too menacing or like crazy enough.
Yeah,
I think we gotta like hold off on the crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't even remember in the cartoon. Do they even show her in season 1?
They only showed her in one flashback, I believe, when Zuko.
They're talking about his mom.
When Zuko and Ozai do like the Agni Kai because he disrespected him in front of the military or whatever, or the generals. You see her kind of in the background when Ira kind of like looks away when Ozai goes to firebend on Zuko, and then Azula's just kind of like like in the background. Yeah.
She's like, suck it, brother, you suck.
When you say you
And then
like
again at the end of
all the casting, you
season
mean
finale.
like the look of them, or you mean like how they acted?
A little bit of both.
Okay, because
Yeah.
for the look, I think they got like the look very close to almost every character.
Yeah, they kept
Not
they
all
kept
of them,
that
but
as
to almost
faithful
every character.
as possible. Yeah.
But the
Like,
The acting was.
I didn't really like Katara's acting.
neither.
I did.
Who's?
Katara.
Katara's.
Like in some parts she was great. Some parts maybe
It's something
like delivery.
It seemed off.
It was like the delivery was.
So maybe it's directing, and hopefully she's better in the second season. But especially in the earlier episodes, it just seemed like they weren't giving her much to do, even though that should have been the time where she was like getting into like learning more of the waterbending. But I mean, we'll get into that. I guess more of the pacing. But I felt like the acting, like Sokka, Zuko, Iroh, Aang at times was okay, but he was good most of the time.
He was like okay, but most of the time he was good.
I just think it's what they gave him. They made him in this season of the show be more serious than he actually is in a cartoon.
Because for Gordon Cormier, who does Aang, I don't know if this was his first or one of his first roles as an actor, but he's also very young. I mean, they filmed this like a couple of years ago already.
Yeah.
Probably even close to 3 almost, but I would say about 2 years. I'm sure now when they go to film season 2 and season 3,
they already
that he'll have that
it.
experience and he'll be like his acting would be improved by then, and he won't sound like he's trying to enunciate everything so properly, which was one thing that kind of caught me off guard a little bit, is that he was like enunciating everything. There's a clip of a trailer where he says like responsibility, and it's like responsibility. He says it in a very, forced and.
I think that's how a kid would say responsibility.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, probably the majority of these actors who are young, this is either one of their first things, and they're just probably not that good. And then it's also what's written, and then the direction. The director is the one telling them to do it that way. So.
Yeah, and they could always reshoot if maybe something was off.
Right. So we'll see. We'll see in the next season. And like you said, that was years ago, so it might be like
an improvement.
Okay, now when they do, if they're smart,
puberty.
hopefully, yeah. Well, that's the thing. If they're smart, they probably should shoot 2 and 3 at the same time. So you don't get like
I think that's
Aang getting super tall by season 3 because he hit puberty too early or something like that.
Because they did announce season 2 and 3.
Yeah,
back to back.
There's only 3 seasons, so it's like where you're going, and you know how long it needs to be and where it's ending. So you kind of need them to all be
plan it already.
Yeah, you don't want a bunch of these actors to start looking like much older than they should be. So
yeah. And then by far one of the more standout actors in this season was Daniel Day Kim.
Daddy
Day Kim.
That was on purpose.
Was it? You Googled Daddy Day Kim.
That's what the internet has been calling him.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
The thirst for
no way, dude. It's just Jin from Lost.
This is Jin from Lost. Yeah, where were they when they were watching Lost?
There's a guy on YouTube that I see some of his videos. I believe his channel is Hello Future Me, and he did that as a joke. I'm like, if we ever talk about Airbender, I'm gonna sneak that in there.
Daddy Day.
He goes Daddy Day. I mean Daniel Day Kim.
Yep.
He was really good.
He was really good.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that he was in both Avatar and Korra.
Mm-hmm.
But in Last Airbender, he was only one character, and it was General. I think his name was General Fong from season 2, episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But then he was Hiroshi Sato for several episodes in Legend of Korra.
Mm-hmm. He was this girl's dad, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Asami's dad.
Like the Henry Ford, basically. Of
We're
Korra.
gonna make inventions. Make bending useless.
I invented this automobile.
Yeah, and he was it's fun and goofy for it. So I know Anthony's point is hopefully in terms of comparisons, give him a chance to be a little more goofy. They had some goofiness the very end of the last episode. Is I needed more of that in episodes 2, 4, or no, I can just within the parts of the show, of the silly banter between the 3 of them. Where it's just see, I'm right. You gotta have empty stomach, and he's well, because you're always eating with your I think of your stomach instead of your head. He's well, yeah, and then they have that little goofiness.
Yeah, I guess that's part of at least for me, the pacing, where I feel that line would have been even better if throughout the season we would have seen more, not even whole episodes, but more tidbit parts of episodes of them hanging out together, and I feel there wasn't enough of that to garner hey, we're best friends now by the end of the season.
It's because it's they're I know again you're only doing 8 episodes, but they are to Anthony's point trying to throw a lot of little plot lines and stuff in there.
I don't buy that.
You're jumping from Joshi Island and you're moving on this part.
But it's essentially 8 hours. And you could technically watch the whole first season in 8 hours.
I was gonna say because
each episode's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
22.
So
now where this is 40.
And no, each episode here was 55 or something.
50 to 60 minutes.
Yeah. So it's
that's what I'm saying.
yeah, you could have cut some stuff, but I know they shouldn't, and you shouldn't as an adaptation.
You but then added more.
Yeah, you shouldn't do a one-on-one,
there.
one-for-one adaptation. But you could have done a lot of those, like where they had episodes of just them traveling and doing like a side quest. You could have had like a montage in like 10 minutes of an episode of them traveling to different places.
Yeah, like
and showing them hanging out.
Amashu.
Yeah, like you could have had something like that. Whereas I noticed like in the middle of the season, I think it was the arc of was it when they went to Amashu?
Yeah.
Where they kind of fused like 3 storylines together.
I think it was
four or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, these things did not happen like this, but this happened here. I'm like, okay, I guess they're doing it that way. So it is tricky though, because Nickelodeon, it's 22-minute episodes and it's like very episodic, and so you can get away with doing like singular. Okay, this is like an episode where they travel here.
It's like filler, but then I wouldn't say none of the show is really filler.
Yeah, because if they did it that way in an hour-long Netflix show, then like your 1 hour-long episode would feel like 4 like mini episodes. So it is a hard task for these showrunners to have to like blend in different storylines. So I mean, I commend them for that. Yeah. It is harder than it sounds to do that.
Because that episode specifically combines, I think it's 4 episodes. So the 4 episodes that you mentioned. So you have was it
That's where they met Jet. First of all, they introduced Jet.
You had the Jet.
So that's a Jet storyline
combined in there.
And
then you have the Northern Air Temple storyline with the Mechanist and his son and everything.
Right. Yep. Danny Pudi, Community.
And then you have the
Aang meeting Boomy,
which is what's the name of that episode? It's
that's towards the like middle.
Well, I think he's talking about in the end.
The King of Omashu, I think is the name of the episode. Yeah. The King of Omashu is the name that, which is like the main like that's like the main anchor, and then the subplots are Jet, the Northern Air Temple, and then the other one was
wasn't that also
something else?
Wasn't also the same because they did it in 2 episode arcs,
right?
Iroh and Zuko were there, and they also hired that lady with the weird creature to hunt Aang. So that was another
which was
thing from a different episode.
Yeah, that was a different episode. That was like 2 episodes later, which they combined. I think it was Bato of the Water Tribe, which has her name. What's her name? June? No, not June.
July.
Julie.
But yeah, she has like the sheer shoe.
Judy.
Yeah. There is no war about Sensei.
That's season 2.
Yeah, I know. But so I don't mind the combining of stuff like that. I just wish maybe like every 2 episodes there was like a little area of like them flying somewhere on Appa,
liberate a town from the firebenders.
Exactly, and them camping out, and oh crap, something's happening in this village. Like they could have had 2 or 3 of these little tiny scenes to show more of the camaraderie, so that way when you get to that end of that episode and they have that banter, it's like that's the same banter that they were having throughout the season. And I felt like they only had that banter like one other time in the show. I was like, it doesn't really didn't work too much for me.
But I have hope that that's something I think they'll take and try to apply more, especially when they're going to be introducing
Toph. Like there needs to be a lot of training.
There needs to be a lot of training, and there needs to be a lot of Toph just ripping into Aang all the time, or ripping into everybody, because Toph takes no crap from nobody.
And I think it'd be safe to assume each season will probably have the same amount of episodes.
Like probably,
roughly, maybe.
Unless Netflix is like, we're throwing that Stranger Things money at it.
Do 10 episodes of that.
Yeah, but the
special effects,
dude. The special effects are great.
They're still really well done.
How about that water?
That
CGI water.
The fire, though.
The
fire was fire.
Cool.
Is that what you were?
That fire was fire. I like that the airbending didn't look like still kept similar to like the fighting styles that they're based off of. So it still looked really good.
Yeah, I think airbending is
Tai Chi.
No, that's waterbending. Waterbending is Tai Chi. Fire is Northern Shaolin, I believe.
Yeah, Northern Shaolin. Earth is Hungar.
Hungar, and then Toph is praying mantis.
Specifically, yes, which is really cool.
And then air is Bagua.
Bagua, yeah.
Bagua, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Sifu Kisu was.
See, the boy knows.
Sifu Kisu was the original like martial artist
consultant.
on the animated show.
Nice.
Yep.
I wonder if they. I don't think they did, but I wonder if they brought him for this just to like consult again.
But yeah, and what
pretty
for
cool.
me, what would have also added to those if they made more of those scenes of them getting together? I felt like there wasn't enough training scenes either. I felt like Aang should have trained more in waterbending, and then it would have shown Katara learn waterbending more because it seemed like she learned whatever she learned in the season very quickly.
Yeah, because at the very end,
manuscripts.
Yeah, that was like,
But then Aang gave her like
Well,
a
yeah,
tip.
she had
and
the
she's like,
waterbending
oh yeah.
scroll.
yeah, one
She had
tip. She's like, I got it
She's
now.
like, hey, I think I got this.
where did she get the waterbending scroll again?
Gran gave it to her.
It was
Grandma.
Gran.
Gave it to her.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because in the show it was the episode with the pirates, which was the waterbending
Like,
scroll.
Yeah.
I really liked like in the cartoon when they go to the Northern Water Temple for at the end of the season, the whole episode of her trying to show the master like, no, I need to be training with you even though I'm a woman. Like that whole episode was great in the cartoon. I felt like tell me if I'm right, in the cartoon doesn't she like, go multiple times to fight him like throughout the day or something, or multiple days?
Yeah, the episode that you're referring to, that one is the waterbending master. It starts off because I think that's when they get to the water tribe.
Right.
And Paku talks about they're like the dinner thing. He tells Aang that he can train him tomorrow morning, and then Aang's like, oh yeah, I'll bring a friend along. Oh yeah, sure, yeah, no problem. The next morning, he shows up with Katara, and then it's like, oh,
It's a girl.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
women are forbidden from waterbending and all this stuff. And then there were a couple times where she like confronts him. And at the very end, they fight. Which the fight in the show was almost like for like.
Right?
Like, there were a couple
Yeah.
parts like where she has like the ice that comes up, and she's like throwing.
She's
it.
Yeah, the actual fight was cool.
Yeah,
like,
the disc
disc, the ice disc.
And everyone's like, wait, yo.
And he does that thing where he dodges it, and you see his reflection. And
Yeah.
his face is like, oh.
Yeah, it's like, this is wild.
No, the fight was really cool.
But that was weird.
For me, it was more the lead up to
Build
it,
up
where
to
it
the
seemed
build up,
like we didn't see her get to that level for her to do that fight. That was like my
because
all we got was
she was learning
splashing.
throughout the
Yeah,
show,
like she
yeah.
did fight some some firebenders, but like was
like
it
very,
enough?
but it was like very little. It was like I do the whip thing twice that she learned,
the water
but like
whip, yeah.
nowhere in the season do I remember her learning the ice and that fight was really cool, but it's like. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
Kanai Joe.
In the
Who knows?
in the show, it was the waterbending scroll, and then a little bit of the fortune teller, which at the beginning, her and Aang were practicing waterbending, and like he does like the octopus thing.
Yeah.
They're practicing waterbending then, but even then they would practice in other parts of the show.
That's the only thing.
shows that
I
growth.
hope the next season, like you just intersperse a couple of these moments where it's just like training here, hanging out here, like. It doesn't have to be like the story of the episode for the whole episode. Like show like little
either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he
So you're like, hey,
is
it's
supposed, they're
book
both
101.
supposed to learn.
I know.
Because there's there's like a bit of a time jump between when Paku finally lets her waterbend at the end of the episode to then the 2-part finale.
Yeah,
Right.
the siege of
Where she learns some stuff.
Right, and then
and tells
but in the
Aang, oh, maybe she'll be your master.
in the live action show, it was 2 episodes, and I feel like a lot of the first episode, like it was like introducing the tribe, but like I felt like not much happened, and they could have done more in that first one. Then like they crammed a lot in the second one, because even when like after that part 1 finished, I was like, are they not gonna do the whole thing with the fish and the moon and all? Because I thought that would have happened in part 1. At least explain that like the moon god is like the fish, but it's like nope, let's cram that all into the second episode. And
I think
so I think they just need to fix a couple of their pacing.
Yeah,
At least for me, some
and I
pacing
think that
issues.
maybe like we didn't have to go too far into like the spirit realm stuff, but that did set up Yue at least in parts of the show.
Well, the thing is, they went far into the spirit realm stuff, but only in that one part. Like you could have explained some of that in other episodes, so that when it happens here, it's not some long explanation, and then you understand like, oh, this is what's happening now because there is a moon spirit, and it's like, oh, and now they're screwing with the moon spirit. And
yeah, which is
I don't think at any point in time in the season they explain that the waterbenders get their power from the moon.
until the very
Until
end,
that
right?
episode. So
Yeah,
like,
until the very
so
end.
that's why like if you don't know anything of this show, of the cartoon, and you just watch this, that whole last episode might
Info
be confusing to you because they didn't really explain that stuff.
Yeah,
before.
it felt like like there's a lot of info dumping.
Yeah.
Just they
Which,
are
which can, a lot of times I think tends to happen when you do the live action stuff. But
Like save it for the big reveal at the end.
What I will say is that I think it could have been significantly worse.
Yeah,
But
it could have.
It could
of course.
have. Yeah.
I mean, we know
It could have been. It could have been a. I mean, it has been worse. It could have been a whole Shyamalan situation. Like,
I thought we weren't going to talk about it anymore. If you think you're
Dragon Ball
having,
Evolution.
thanks, Anthony. Let's just talk about all the really bad.
One that's worse than the Shyamalan movie. It's worse than the Shyamalan movie.
Is
we
it
have
really?
video
Yes.
on right now. I'm literally trying to claw my
I
eyes
haven't
out.
seen that one.
Dragon Ball
Okay,
Evolution is terrible.
so with that,
back
with
to Last
that,
Airbender.
like, I want to go through. Like, Anthony mentioned some cool stuff. Like, Danny, what were some of your favorite moments throughout the show, or at least throughout this season?
I like the opening, like that new like backstory thing that they did. And what was his character?
Talking about Gyatso?
oh, Gyatso. Yeah.
his friend.
Yeah, his
Yeah, his
Gyatso.
friend.
Yeah.
Monk Gyatso.
Yeah.
Gyatso.
I thought he was really cool.
Yeah, he was.
And then
great.
like obviously
I like
he's-
the actor there.
Yes,
the actor
he
was-
was great. Yeah.
And then how he shows up later on, and he sees him again.
Mm-hmm. In the spirit realm, like that was really nice.
There's a whole theory that I heard somewhere about that whole moment. Someone said that the reason why he was there in the first place was because for him to find peace and move on
He had
from
to
like the
see-
spirit world, he wanted to make sure that Aang
Aang was
was
okay.
and
Yeah.
then that finally
That seems
happened,
plausible.
and you can see him kind of like
he
like,
felt
I'm
at
not
peace.
gonna be
He's like,
here.
okay.
Like
Cool.
felt relieved, and then
He's like, yes.
Well, because Aang was like, oh, I'll see you here later.
Yeah,
right?
like,
but-
oh,
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, of course. No, he knew he was
Agree.
moving on, but I think he also felt good to move on because of not only seeing Aang, but like, oh, like you have friends, like you have a support system, like you have something that's gonna help you through this. Especially when
like you're not alone.
when you're getting the the avatars to be alone and all this stuff. It's just like he's getting some of those things, especially when he's speaking to the different avatars. I was waiting for Murder Kyoshi to show up and just roll up
I mean,
and just kill them all.
they did that
Yeah,
in the second episode.
yeah, they did. She rolled up.
And I think my other favorite moment was in episode 6
That was a great episode.
when
The Spirit? Right?
Yeah.
The spirit?
Zuko.
That was the 6 episodes.
Yeah, because there's only
Yeah.
8. There's only 8.
There's only
Yeah.
8.
No, I know, but I thought that would have been like 5. Episode 5 already. There's a Blue Spirit. But which one was episode 5? Was that where he after he leaves Roku's island?
Oh, Matt. Yeah, 6
Or
was
like the
masked.
temple?
Yeah.
6 was masked. Yeah.
Damn, wow.
Yeah, so that's when he goes to Roku's Island, which he had Marvin Candle as
I know.
the
Okay,
fire
so
sage.
These
Second
people,
Lost
these people
reference.
must have liked Lost because you have Daniel
Zhao?
Day Kim as Fire Lord Ozai. You
Again, I
have
love the casting.
Admiral Zhao, who was Miles in Lost, and then
Uh-huh.
you have Marvin Candle, who is this other. What is it like?
You mean Edgar Halawax? Like,
But who was he in Airbender? He was
He
just
was
one of the.
he was the fire sage.
He was the one of the
He was
old
the
fire
Avatar Roku
sages.
fire sage.
And
yeah.
he played Miles's father, like Admiral Zhao's father in Lost. So like 3 Lost people, and then Danny Pudi, someone from Community. So these people have
These people are
actors from 2 of my like favorite shows.
Yeah,
So
they're cool. Like,
Just because of that, like this show gets a bump up. It goes from a 2 to a 3. No, I'm joking.
no, I really
I'm
3 out
joking.
of 3. No, out of 4. No, so yeah, that whole episode was great. Like again, like Dallas Liu, I think really took to heart like the character arc of Zuko. Like there was a lot of part because like, oh, we can't work with bounty hunters. They have no honor. I'm just like kind of laughing, but I'm also like honor. But like it was still cool, like being. Just seeing a really like strong interpretation of the character. Same thing with Paul Hyung-sun Lee as Uncle Iroh. Like he's talking about, oh, I heard they got great Pai Show. He like, play some, have some Pai Show and just like
Yeah, he plays him a little different, but it's still good.
it's subtle.
Still
But then
good.
like when he gets a little giddy, it makes the giddiness of like, oh yeah, Uncle Iroh's like a fun, goofy, nice person.
Dude, and his the moment with the flashback. Oh.
Don't bring it up. No, I'm gonna cry. Don't bring it up.
No, we have to because it is one of the
The
good. the better
music
moments.
is kind of in the background.
It is in the
No,
background.
it is. It's definitely.
Yeah.
Part of me
leads
was
from the
like,
vine.
it wasn't as good as the cartoon.
Yeah, but it's not there yet.
The impact. Okay, yeah, the impact maybe not so much.
Yeah, but I did hear the music. I heard the music. I was like, okay,
When we get to
I
his
see what
grave.
you're doing.
Hopefully we get to
When we get to
they
Ba Sing
do
Se, I guess
Tales
his-
of Ba Sing Se.
yeah, when he
If they
gets
don't
to
do
his
Tales
grave.
of Ba Sing Se, petition. to Netflix.
I don't think they will, because in that wasn't it that episode where he was like,
That's a lot of the filler stuff.
"Your son will be proud." Like he said, he would be proud. Like
Yeah, that's the whole little like, is this like maybe like 5 minute like little mini.
no, not in a cartoon, in a live action.
Live action.
What do you mean?
Like during that whole episode 6, by the end of the episode, was it that episode? When the
Thought it
episode
was.
where they were
Yes.
playing, where they're
Yeah.
at the end
It's
playing the
probably
music, and
either
he
5
like
or 6, yeah.
connects with his uncle, and he's like, and he tells him like, your son would have been proud.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you didn't know any of that from the cartoon, you kind of wouldn't know what he's talking about.
But I think you can still read it in Iroh's face. It's just like, hey, is this a senseless death? Like,
Because
this is
they don't really
sad.
talk in the anime. They don't. Excuse me.
It's not animation.
Ooh.
But yes.
In the
It's
animated
an anime
show,
inspired show.
The sneezing is hiding tears.
Because they don't mention that Liu Ten dies until season 2, right?
yeah, until that
Until
episode.
season 2,
Pretty
yeah.
much that episode.
Well, because the thing is, thematically, I think it makes sense to talk about
Yeah.
Lieutenant's death. Because remember, they have that whole subplot where the crew that's on Zuko's quest is the crew that was requisitioned by them, because those guys were supposed to just be
Yeah,
sacrifices.
so he essentially
Yeah.
saved them by.
Yeah, and all of that at the very end of figuring that out, like that was like, Lieutenant G, like finding that out, just like,
He's like,
oh damn, this kid is like the truth when it comes to honor and like understanding that stuff. Like, okay, like I think I get this, and so that was again like good moments. So like there are things thematically that I like, choices that were different. Some, and most of them I kind of liked. But yeah, you liked obviously all the stuff with the blue spirit. Like, that was dope. I'm gonna rescue this guy.
Zuko's great.
Yeah, Dallas Liu did a great job. Zach, any of your favorite moments? Any favorite moments of yours that you liked?
Yeah, when I
before he
finished-
doesn't die. Yeah,
My cabbages.
it's the same
Dude,
guy. It's the same freaking guy. It's the same freaking
Quick
guy.
thing. Yeah, they brought back the original voice actor to do the same character.
Did you see? Have you seen the clip online of Dallas Cormier with him doing the line together?
Yeah.
It's so wholesome. My cabbages. Like, you can't have it without that guy. Needs to show up in season 2 again. You know it's gonna happen.
He does show up. He shows up
should show
in the
he should be in
yeah.
every place that they go
in the
to.
Serpent's Pass
Uh-huh.
episode where they're trying to get on the refugee boats.
Yeah.
To go to Ba Sing Se. He's there and the bear destroys his cart because of a cabbage slug.
How did you like the creepy episode with
The spirits.
Spirit in the Forest?
I only didn't like it as much because they combined
Multiple stories.
aspects from like the 2-part finale, like the Ko the Face Stealer and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was fine with them finding the burned forest and then going to the spirit world, and but then when they added Ko the Face Stealer and then the whole thing about going to Roku's temple, that part was fine because that happens chronologically.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't like the Ko stuff because it wasn't supposed to happen until later, and it's more significant at the very end than just thrown in the middle of the show. So I'm like 50-50.
I can see that. Yeah, that to me makes sense considering like the.
And then
It
also
looked good though. It looked good.
And then Sokka, yeah. Well, so the Heibai spirit actually looked really good. Like it looked menacing. They put all their CGI budget into that.
Yeah, which was good. Good for them.
What was their budget for this?
I was probably.
Season.
I honestly don't
It
know.
might have been like a couple hundred, probably a couple hundred million.
Probably less than Secret Invasion.
Oh, it was 150 million.
Okay.
It's still less than Secret Invasion.
Oh,
No, less than She-Hulk too.
Yeah.
She-Hulk
Yeah.
was like 200 million.
That's crazy.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
but the thing is, She-Hulk had CGI, like a bunch of it. Secret Invasion
Did it?
had like 2 episodes of CGI in it.
Did not have that much. Okay, so you like that? Anything
Yeah.
about the anything with how'd you feel about the Kyoshi Warriors?
I liked it for the most part. The only part I didn't like was the Kyoshi part because that should have happened with Roku in the temple.
Oh, like the Avatar taking over his body?
Yeah.
Because that didn't happen in a cartoon.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't happen with Kyoshi anyway. It does happen with Roku.
And I'm pretty
temple.
sure they did that just so they can justify, like, this is also going to happen later at the end of the season when Aang gets taken over by
The other spirit. And
Godzilla, Waterzilla.
They still could have done that with Roku, because Roku does destroy the temple with everyone inside me, everyone gets out, but still, like, he still destroys the temple.
Yes, he makes a clear point that, like, y'all in the Fire Nation need to change up. Yeah.
And then, speaking of Roku, they kind of, like, did him dirty.
I think we're gonna get more of him, especially with the episodes. We're gonna get more of Roku.
Yeah, I'm not saying they were not. But I'm just saying that they made him not as serious as he is in the show, and that whole part where Aang meets him in the temple. It's supposed to be like we find out about the comet. He doesn't learn about the Avatar spirit. That's like season.
But
2.
isn't that when he also tells them about like what happened to the air temple?
In the show? No, because remember at that point.
When does that happen?
Roku
Season 2?
Passed
That's
away.
something that they find out in season 2.
Sozin's still alive. Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff we're gonna get more. I think we'll get more. But yeah, to your point, like we'll get more things going on in season 2, especially when it comes to more avatars, and Aang needs to channel the avatar state. Which again, speaking of avatar state and all that stuff, like a lot of the sound effects and a lot of a lot of the stuff just looked really close to the cartoon in like a really good way. Like to Anthony's point, like a lot of the costuming and the actors look the parts, and it's like it's honestly they did it with care and faithfulness. I thought that was really nice. Again, like
and a lot of they kept a lot of the same lines too. Like they would have lines word for word from the original.
Yep.
Like when Aang goes into the Avatar state at the end of in the finale. And he gets
consumed by the
ocean spirit.
Yeah.
He does the no, it's not over with like all the voices.
Yeah, it's not
which
over.
is always badass.
Cool. Badass, yeah.
But I think it was the lines that were said between Sokka and then Yue leading up to that point didn't land, and it didn't make sense for why he said it, but it still sounded pretty cool.
But I think that's just mainly, I think it was like the writing, because there are parts where they take the like direct lines from the show, but then like the additional writing of this live action show, there were times that I noticed where like the characters would say something and then there would be like a weird pause, and then like the next character would say something, and so I just feel like that's like a writing. I think it's a writing and a directing thing more than the acting thing, but it just makes the actors look weird, like they're not like talking naturally to each other. It's just like I'm saying my line and now I'm waiting for you to say your line. I noticed that a few times. I was like, it's kind of weird. Especially there was one scene, I think it was like when they were talking, like one of the scenes with Jet. I think it was like between Jet and Katara, and it was like super obvious where there was just like a long pause after one of them said something, and it was just like, why are they pausing there? Like they was like they supposedly said something. No, it's like they supposedly said like something impactful, but it wasn't really impactful. And then it was just like an extra 10, 15 seconds too long on like that person after something was said. I was like, that was a weird choice to do that.
Was it during that heart to heart thing where Jet's like, oh, use like the happy memories of your mom to water?
No, I think it was by the time where she already like realizes that like he kind of like betrayed them,
murder a child,
betrayed them, and so it was like during their like argument, and then it was like some weird pause. I don't know. I noticed it a couple of times throughout the season. I was just like, yeah, I don't know. That's not an actor issue. That's a directing issue, and maybe even a writing issue because maybe they wrote it that way. But
it wasn't like an editing thing like how they cut it up. It was like it was like the same
because
shot.
like like you're filming the actor say something and then okay, now the next actor talks after you like slowly zoomed in on this person's face.
Yeah, that's
very
weird.
But yeah, I mean, minor gripes. Nowhere near compared to the movie that should not be named.
Yeah, I know. I was
Voldemort.
Yeah, I was watching this, and like my sister also like she's older than me, but she would watch the show, periodically, episodically when she used to babysit these kids back in like the mid 2000s, and she grew to legitimately like the show. It's like, man, this show is great. Like, and so like I'm thinking that a lot of people who maybe watched or like. For the most part, people who I know personally who saw the show live action were overall like pleased with it. Like, yeah, could things be better? Sure, but for the most part, like the idea lands, like it's setting up, really, it's got good setup for seasons 2 and 3. I think it's just there's a lot of good room potential. Again, just keep up especially like the fighting and bending aspects of that, and let the characters grow and be more themselves, like we know from the source material. And if you're gonna remix some plot lines, for the most part, the remix plot lines landed the points, but like to Anthony's point, could be pacing. Just work on some of that. I think could be better. I really liked it was fast, but it didn't feel too rushed. The Sokka and Suki relationship that kind of built up. I liked it. It was fast, but it was like, because
they don't kiss until season 2. And it's like,
no, man, she's in it. And at a certain point,
they just mad.
Oh, dude, didn't she take her makeup off in like an instant?
Super, I don't know. It's getting water.
Wait, what?
They're like when they're doing like their training session, and then like he's talking to her. She has like her back to him, to Sokka. And then like she goes like this, and she just turns around. She has no makeup on. Like, I don't know if it takes that.
It's oils.
No,
I don't know.
I feel like she was there for a good while.
No, it was
camera.
like,
I think it was like one. I think it was one edit.
I'll have to rewatch it, but I'm pretty sure she was there for a while, and they just had the camera on.
But you have to rewatch it. It seemed fast to me.
So these guys don't know, but who played Suki's mom?
Who played Suki's mom? I don't know. I don't remember.
So that was actress Tamlin Tomita from Karate Kid Part 2.
Oh, wow. Random.
Which also means that other show that's on Netflix, that's awesome that they don't watch.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
He does. I don't.
I just haven't seen the last season.
Hasn't come out yet.
Yeah. Haven't seen the last season.
Or you mean the previous one?
Yeah, you're cracked. You're missing out. Anyway, yeah, dude. It seems like Netflix and martial arts stuff for the most part. They're kind of, they're doing all right. I think, yeah, like there's just there's we can only go up, I think. At least we can hope.
Yeah, because like looking at reviews and like aggregate scores and everything, like the show has pretty average, like almost split reception. Like you have like I think Rotten Tomatoes gives it like somewhere in it's like 60% of people liked it versus didn't like it. The audience score I think was about the same, maybe a little bit higher, like almost 70 and above. But I'm not sure about like what IMDb has given it or
so right now
like Metacritic or whatever else is out there.
Rotten Tomatoes has the critics at a 60.
Okay.
And then audience at a 74.
Look at that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which is pretty solid.
74% of the people haven't watched the original.
Yeah, I like the last 2 episodes. I felt like Katara, they were writing Katara better, and she seemed like a more fleshed out version of who Katara should be by the end of the season. But yeah, it just seemed like they did her stuff too quick in like 1 episode.
And she came off as more childish. I know that the character is supposed to be 14 years old, but she still came off as more childish in the live action than in the animated show.
Even though,
because they give them time to grow as like a friend group or family group, and then like by the time you get to the season finale in the cartoon, it feels like a lot of time has passed, and it feels like she's trained a lot. So it's like she's also matured a lot in like whatever months that they've been on this journey. I don't know how long season 1 takes place in the cartoon, but
like 2 or 3 months.
2 months,
yeah.
maybe?
Because like the whole show, I think, takes place over the course of about 9 months. Because it starts in like the winter and then ends in the summer.
For the comic.
Yeah, for the comic.
About 7 to 9 months, I would say. So like the first season is about 2 or 3 months max.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. CGI.
And it coincides with also
the
season and the element, which is actually
Water's
cool.
Yeah, fighting was good. Like the Katara Zuko fight at the end was dope.
Yeah.
That was legitimately like, hey, we're throwing lows.
Where he's like, I got this. He's just like, and then she's like, I'm a master now. He's like, sure.
Oh,
He's like,
hey, look yourself a master.
Yeah. Like, you yourself a master. Come on.
Oh, she's like, no, it's me.
I keep creating back to the
and then
the original.
Abe was saying something like go easier or don't whatever it was. Enough people have been hurt today. And Zuko's like, I'm not, or whatever. He's like, I wasn't talking about you.
Yeah, like, go easy. Like, I won't go. He's like, I wasn't talking to you. He was like, I wasn't talking to you. And just keep on, and you're like, ooh, kid, let's go. Anyway, yeah.
And for a moment, I was like, Okay, that was a cool
Yeah.
thing, but also like she didn't learn shit, and so
I know some people's criticisms were that they like kind of did away with the whole Sokka being somewhat sexist at the beginning of the cartoon.
that's one of my biggest.
And then they
complaints,
took it away when it's like, well, but like in the cartoon they resolve it, so they kind of could have just resolved it the same way.
They resolved it by the Kyoshi Warrior episode,
One episode.
which is the part again I don't get. They kept that.
But see, that's the problem with the cartoon. So the Kyoshi episode is what, episode 12 or 10 or?
No, it was 4.
Is it really 4?
Episode 4.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize it was
Warriors
that
of
early.
Kyoshi.
That's why it came up in episode 2. I was like, oh, this feels natural. Like, I remember this at least.
And that's the thing is like they could have kept it very quick, where keep it between the 2 episodes. Because then obviously in the original, Sokka realizes, okay, yeah, like I treated you like a girl when I should have treated you like a warrior, right? He has that whole anti-sexism revelation thing, and
But like
he respects women more.
It also comes back to when they go to the other water tribe where they kind of have something similar where it's like,
But they
it's
kept
like,
that in.
It's like sexism / like where this is like our way of thinking.
It could be seen as like, oh, it's very old school, like how in real life men would go off to war, whereas women would stay
And so
home.
Sokka was just probably
That makes more sense.
feeling that, hey, this is what like
The Northern
how my
Water
dad
Tribes
taught me,
did.
and this is what the water tribe does.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
still sexist.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's
no,
still
it is.
sexist.
That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. Like, I'm not sure why they didn't just keep that in the live action in the beginning.
They
In the
kept
beginning.
they kept the whole thing at the end about women not being able to waterbend and fight,
or at
and
least
all that.
fight because they
Yeah.
were waterbending by healing,
Well, yeah,
but
yeah.
they just
I think the point might have been moot once he kept getting his ass whooped by Suki in episode 2. But
Yeah.
then he's like, oh snap, she's also fine. And then
The actress is.
then Zhao attacks, and then stuff happens. Anyway, I think
Admiral
overall-
Zhao was also in X-Men 3, the dude with the spikes.
It was Quill, right?
Yeah.
No. Anyway, Last Stand. Why do we keep bringing up bad movies from the mid 2000s?
The Last
was
Stand
decent.
was a solid
It was
movie.
decent.
It's an okay movie. It's watchable.
It's better than
Last
X-Men Origins.
Stand.
better than definitely.
Oh yeah, the best part is when Magneto rips the bridge. He's like, "Oh, this is the best the Golden Gate Bridge to Alcatraz." He's like, "It's what Charles would want and build bridges." I was like, "Damn, he's badass."
Sure.
That's badass.
From a certain point of view.
Whatever, man. Ian McKellen's Magneto's amazing. Anyway,
And
go ahead, Danny.
No,
Go ahead, Danny.
Because I don't remember too much from the show, but in the backstory of Zuko,
Mm-hmm.
where in the live action where they had him take the squad, not the squad, but like the crew,
But yeah,
that was originally gonna like die
Or
and
be sacrificed.
be sacrificed.
as an attack, yeah.
Was that in the original show or no?
They don't say no. It's there's never that
This was kind
connection.
of like made here.
No.
Okay.
They made it for the show. Yeah, they made it this connection, but in the original show, there's just some random like
group of soldiers that go with
group
him.
of soldiers.
Got
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
my
then
father
it's
gave me
not
this-
the same
this-
as.
yeah. You remember his father?
This was
gave
like
him
the
a battalion.
punishment,
Yeah.
almost like for.
Sort of, yeah. Like, hey, like I'm gonna give you some stupid, impossible task. Go off and
Yeah.
be whatever.
And since you like
Yeah.
them, since you cared for them so much, go take them.
And which I like this as a change in the Agni Kai fight. I don't know if I remember this from the cartoon, but did Zuko ever at one point have the upper hand? I don't believe so.
No.
It was just him getting stopped.
with his dad.
Yeah.
He never even stood
No.
up.
He
He turned around to fight, realized that he wasn't fighting the general, it was his dad.
Yeah.
And he started bowing and like apologizing profusely.
yeah. And, he's just
And then
like,
he
no,
got
you
burned.
messed up. Yeah.
And here they did actually fight. But I think that was a replacement for the Zhao Agni Kai fight he was supposed to have, like in the anime,
Yeah.
which they didn't.
Especially when
So
he's like,
how you
"Oh, this
said.
is now time for me to show my quality." He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna start playing around," but then you find out that
He's
he's
like,
getting.
oh, I know people in that city.
Yeah, I know people, but it ends up being because he's getting fed information by Azula, which we saw from that other like flashback. She can go and be a more of her own level of manipulation, which then hopefully as we get more unhinged Azula on top of that can make things even wilder. I want to see if we end up getting the old maids, you know, the ladies
The two
in waiting,
ladies?
the two older ladies. They're just like, oh, they're crazy.
Lo and Lee.
Yeah,
Lo
just
and
like
Lee.
yeah, Lo and Lee. Just like yeah, we got like yeah, those ladies were hilarious. But anyway, yeah, overall like
There's a couple of
yeah.
obvious like green screen moments. I'm like, they could
Wait,
make that less obvious.
There were a couple, but like
Not that many, but a couple.
Overall, like-
usually when they're on Appa, it was like,
wasn't
pretty
too
obvious.
attractive.
yeah, it wasn't like
So like some of the Appa stuff was good, and then some of it like you can clearly tell.
yeah.
Where like the camera was like, you can tell they're on Appa or they're on something, and the camera's like here on two people's faces on Appa,
And it's like an
then you
animatronic
look at the
thing,
back
it's-
on the background, it looks kind of weird.
Yeah, it's like
Or the lighting just doesn't look.
Yeah.
just don't worry
right
about
either.
it. Yes.
And then there was something else I wanted to mention too.
But the water, though.
it was-
That water bending.
Oh, so this is more of like a something that I would have preferred to have happened in terms of casting, because Zhao doesn't really fight all that much in this show.
No.
I think if this show was done maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, the perfect Zhao casting, in my opinion, Hugh Jackman. Here's why. He's already rocked the mutton chops before. What? Zhao is a pretty ripped dude. Hugh Jackman is a pretty ripped
Jacked
dude.
man.
They have similar hair, all right? And he could pull off an American accent.
But they're
'Cause he's like
casting
the Wolverine.
all Asian actors, though.
No, I know.
He's not
I know.
Asian.
I'm saying like if this like if we're like going beyond beyond the boundaries of like race and
That's
being
a-
like culturally accurate.
How dare you do that?
Like I think Hugh Jackman would have been a great Zhao
No.
in terms of how it's portrayed. Like when I hear
Admiral
Jason
Jackman.
Isaacs' voice, for some reason I think of Hugh Jackman. I
Was
don't
he
know why.
Jason Isaacs?
It was Jason
It was
Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs.
Or Harry Potter.
The original,
Yeah.
the original Zhao.
The original Zhao was Jason Isaacs.
And now, one thing I wish they would have also included in the show, which I think was also a very crucial moment of growth for Aang, is to have Zhang Zhang, where he originally learned a little bit of firebending.
Yeah.
That was the episode The Deserter.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna
Jackie
be,
Chan should have been him. Jackie Chan should have been him.
So
we'll get that
He would
later,
make
especially
all-
with like the White Lotus and all that stuff. Like I don't feel they were gonna get those.
But
things.
see, and that's the thing too. Like they don't introduce him,
You don't-
but then
yeah.
he comes in season 3. It's like, are they gonna just throw him in here in season 2 now?
Don't worry about it.
So they would have called Hugh Jackman Zhao Valjean. Is that what they would have called him?
Zhao Valjean. Shut up. That's
I had to
incredible.
do that.
That was incredible. Good job, Anthony.
I don't know what that means.
Watch.
Just
whatever.
watch some version of Les Mis and get back. Anyway, yeah. Overall, like I think it's a good start. It's a solid start. I think they have a good platform to move on and to continue and grow on it and get better, especially as the cast is more familiar with the characters and be able to get more out of the characters. I think to Anthony's point, like streamline some of the directing and the pacing, and I think will be a surefire season 2, even though it's going to be about Earthbending. We just need to figure out who's going to be cast as Toph. Like that's going to be huge.
I mean, it's gonna be a young unknown, essentially.
She's got to be sassy as all get out, and
That's gonna be a tough role to play.
and
out,
they
to be
need,
honest.
and you know what? I'm going to say this right now.
Twinkle toes.
They need Dwayne Johnson to be the boulder.
people are petitioning. to
They
have
need Dwayne Johnson to be
The boulder. That would be amazing. dude.
about hitting a little girl.
That would be amazing.
Boulder's gotten over his confliction.
I think originally he was
Macho
they
Man would
wanted
have been
him to
great,
do it.
but rest in peace, Randy Poffa. Like he couldn't have done it too, but he would have been great.
That would
I think originally the producers wanted to get The Rock to play the Boulder back then.
But apparently, The Rock can't like have fun anymore. Like he's just like super like I don't know. Like
Can't
Too
have fun?
expensive.
that,
Too expensive.
in the sense that like the last time I saw him like do something different, have fun with certain of his roles was like Jumanji 2, because he's like basically playing Danny DeVito in his body. So like he got to like mess around and be a little goofy and
Jungle
less serious. Jungle Cruise again. He just said a lot of really bad Jungle Cruise puns, and was still like
The Rock.
serious The Rock man.
Mm.
Like if you look at, I love seeing the picture. Like you have his outfit in Jungle Cruise, outfit in Jumanji, outfit in
It's all
It's like 4 different movies.
Four different
Oh,
movies.
Rampage.
in Rampage.
Yeah, the caption was, "These are all different.
These are all
movies."
different movies. They're like, dude, what the heck?
Pretty sure he was having fun on Fast 5.
Yes, it was.
Give me the veggies.
You know, like my
Those
dessert burst.
one-liners.
You don't want my dessert burst.
Honestly, if they can somehow get The Rock.
See, like Hobbs and
That'd be
Shaw was good
hilarious.
because he's like, I will beat you like a Cherokee drum. I was like, who says that? Who says that? But anyway, yeah, if they could get the Rock or some other
He would be
wrestler
half of the season's
be-
budget, man.
yeah.
honestly,
But just
yeah.
get him for like.
No, he's a
I think
he's a
if-
girl
I
dad.
think
Those
if-
girls have grown up watching
I
that
think
show.
they could
He
get
would do it
him
for
because
free.
because they could be like, hey man, I'm sure your kids would like really enjoy you having this role, and it's like a super small role.
It's Red Notice.
So, like-
hey, like they already have a relationship with Red Notice or whatever. So like, yo,
Yeah,
just hook it
this-
up. Be on set or someone there.
The Boulder.
He only has to show up. He only has to show up for like.
Landslide.
He only has to show up for one day and do like a couple lines, and that's it.
It's too good. Yeah. Overall, I'm excited. I think you guys are all excited too. Like,
Yeah.
or like pleasantly surprised.
wanna see more.
Zach is like a little, cautiously optimistic.
I would even say cautiously optimistic. I'm just hoping that they don't just,
Man,
go the
Drop
go
the
the
ball.
route
Fumble
of-
the bag.
Yeah, of like the, of the Voldemort. I think that show.
Damn.
I think
That show not be.
It would have to. It would have
the
to
way
make a
this
drastic
show
turn.
came out, I'm pretty sure that was in the back of their minds every
The whole time.
single
Yeah.
second of making the show.
It's like it's not making this way. It's not making this way.
It's like it's not gonna be this. It's not gonna be this. Yeah, this we're not gonna make this. We're gonna try to save some of this and prop up. And I think Netflix has a idea of wanting to do this too because especially with Avatar Studios and Paramount has a stake in like, hey, this has to be good because it's tangentially on our stuff too.
No, real quick before we wrap this up. This is off script, but
script?
Danny, I don't know
I don't know
how
what
much
you're talking about. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I don't know how much that you remember of like season 2, season 3, because I wanted to ask you guys between season 2 and season 3, what are your guys' like one hope that you have that they do, whether it's season 2 or season 3?
I will
One thing
pass
that you
on this
wish.
question.
Yeah,
Because I need to watch
this
2 and
finish
3.
it, Yeah.
I've already said what they need to do in order to make
So
season
for you,
2
so The
great.
Rock-
It's just
The Rock.
no. I'm just making sure that
They just need to make
it's
Toph
Toph.
awesome.
Okay,
Toph needs to
Because
be
she's
awesome.
like one of the main things. In
It's
season
like
two.
a whole good chunk of it's going to be Toph being treated different because of her being blind, but realizing that because of her blind, she's an amazing airbender. And Netflix has already done great stuff with blind characters.
I think they really need to make
So
Azula like a force.
like actually like menacing.
Like, yes.
well, she
Like,
took over a
big
city. She
The
took
Rock.
over Amashu. So
but the
she's
thing is,
gonna
I
be
didn't
more-
believe it. Like they need to write her better so that the actress can like pull it off.
Yes.
Like they need to make it be like so. Like every time when she comes on screen in season 2, you're like, oh,
You're like, oh,
Jesus.
here we go. She's
Like,
about to.
yeah, she's gonna
whoop
do
this
some
up.
stuff.
Because the chase episode.
Because that's how it is in a cartoon, and you're
And she
watching a
needs to
cartoon.
basically bring her buddies along too. Like you have
May and
May,
Ty Lee.
Ty Lee. I want to see more of that because every time May and Ty Lee showed up, I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad.
they whoop them every time.
Like they get rocked,
Like-
and then May's just like, "Hey, Zuko!" Like anytime
Zuzu.
Zuko's around, it's like, "Hey!" It's like, "What?"
Zuzu.
Zuzu. Especially
the
book 3.
The chase episode is also very.
If we're talking about book 3, then obviously you know what needs to happen if they're gonna get to season 3. You know what they need to faithfully recreate 100% accurately.
Yes.
Yes. For anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about the one and only Fire Island players. That needs to happen.
Oh, you mean that? Oh, I'm
Yes.
thinking of
No.
the finale.
Oh, I'm definitely no. I'm talking about
Like the whole
They're gonna do
Agni
that
Kai
really
thing,
great.
yeah.
Like they're gonna do the
Well,
Zuko Azula
Yeah.
because they already showed a little bit of lightning from Azula. Zuko's gonna go on his quest.
And a smidgen of blue fire.
Yeah, Zuko's gonna go on his little quest to talk to the dragon and learn about the aspect of that.
They better do all that right.
Oh, they will.
They
I
better not
feel
jump
they will.
around and do like, oh yeah, we're gonna put all like the Zuko adventure.
So if they
stuff.
jump around, it's
I
gonna
think
be a
one
real
episode.
House of Pain.
I think we need to stop talking
Yeah.
about the future seasons because
Yeah.
although we
Yeah.
mentioned that
We don't
we're
know.
talking about spoilers,
Yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned that we're going to talk about spoilers of the whole show.
That's true.
And
We
so
didn't
if-
mention it.
Fair enough.
If you're a listener just listening to this because you saw only the live action, we're sorry.
Yes.
Go watch the cartoon. It's
Well,
on Netflix.
without spoilers, then
No.
what would be your?
Fire Island players. That's it.
Oh.
The answer is
Well,
also
already-
Fire Island players.
But I think
Oh,
everything
season
would be
3?
a spoiler then.
No,
Yeah.
for anything. Season
No,
2, season
anyway.
3, like, what's one thing that you kind of hope for?
I-
that they do.
I can't
Well,
say it.
There is
I'll
no
tell
war.
you off air.
There is no
Yeah.
war in Ba Sing Se.
Well,
Once
one
we got
thing
that.
that I would love.
A different form of a type of bending.
Oh, okay.
A different form of a type
okay.
of bending.
That's all enough. That's all. I got it. Yep. If you guys know, you know. If you don't, wait or watch the cartoon. All right.
So for me, this is more of like a fan thing. I also saw this on YouTube videos, like briefly mentioned. If for season 3, they do Ember Island players, and they bring back the original cast to play the actor versions of the characters.
I don't know if they can do that.
That would be pretty cool.
That'd be nice.
Well, I mean,
Not everyone in the voice cast
actors.
don't really
They
look like the
actually
characters.
act, yeah.
No, that's fine. That's why they're actors.
They'll put on
That's why they're
costume,
playing
yeah.
actors.
They'll
They're
put on
playing
costume.
Toph still needs to be a dude, which is hilarious.
Yes.
That was my favorite.
Voiced by John DiMaggio for some reason. Or played by John DiMaggio.
Joe DiMaggio.
No, John.
No,
Joe DiMaggio.
Joe's the
Joe
baseball
DiMaggio
player.
player. Yeah. I was like, what? My brain turned off.
If it's John DiMaggio, we're good.
I
Yeah.
mean, some of the cast could just come in and do a cameo and like some random
that's
role.
that's why that
but
episode would be the perfect episode, because it's like you
all
have
of them playing as
you have like the actual voice actors playing actors that are that are their characters.
And they can be bad, and it'd be like, oh, this is just like a really bad like community play,
So you'll have like,
and then it'll be another community.
I mean, they
reference.
do. Oh, that'd be awesome.
but then for
They all still hang out because they do a podcast now. I watch a long podcast.
I think I heard about
It's
that.
called
actually.
Braving the Elements. If you're interested.
Oh, that with
With Cora.
Janet Varney
Mhm.
and Dante Bosco.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Cora,
Which I listened
Cora
to
and Zuko.
actually.
That is really dope. So yeah, guys. Overall, like it's on Netflix. Watch it. It's pretty cool.
So was the animated show, so you could watch all of that too.
That's right. You don't need Paramount Plus, or you can get Paramount Plus if you want. But that's
Is
that's
it
your own
also
thing.
there?
Isn't it? Because it's a Paramount Nickelodeon show.
But I would think there's they have a contract with Netflix to have.
It might,
Yeah, look
it
at
might
that.
be only there, and
For
then
now.
when it's not there, then it probably goes back to Paramount.
Yeah, probably once like they finish with live action and wait a couple of years, they'll probably just put then the animated stuff back on.
you
Paramount.
can watch on both Netflix and
Oh, it is
Paramount
on-
Plus,
Or-
and now on Prime and Pluto.
Oh wow!
Wow. So you have a lot of
It's included with
platforms.
Prime, or is it you have to rent?
No, like free with
Included.
Prime,
Okay.
Go
good.
nuts.
but with ads.
Yeah.
God.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I have the Blu-ray set. as
One
well.
last point I gotta mention.
Nice.
I have two. I have two Blu-ray sets.
As Zach is prepping up what we're gonna talk about for next time, I just have to say the music in the show, especially the end credits.
Very faithful.
Yeah, the end credits great.
I never skip the end
Did you
credits.
skip the intro?
They only
There
had
wasn't.
one.
There's
There wasn't
only
an
one.
intro.
No,
it was
there
just
wasn't.
the one intro.
It was
And
just-
there's
It
just the one intro
kind of hard,
actually,
and that was
but
it.
the end credits I didn't skip it because it's too good. Like they got that right. Once I remember seeing the trailer, they had that. I was like, oh snap!
But the actual music in the show for me was like okay. They didn't have like
I think maybe for
a lot of
some
the
major
similar music cues
moments.
that they did in the cartoon.
They had like the more obvious ones, like the Avatar theme.
Yeah.
And then they kept the one from the Cave of Two Lovers with
Yeah.
the hippies play. They
Secret
kept that,
Lovers.
which again, that's one of my gripes. That's from season 2, and they
Doesn't
put it
matter.
to season 1.
They put it in season 1. It was cool.
That means that they're not going to explore that in season 2 where it matters for Aang guitar, but whatever. We'll see what they do. We'll see what they replace it
They
with.
used it to forge the brotherly bond of Sokka and Katara together, at least. With that, thank you so much for tuning in. We'd love to get your thoughts on Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Do we recommend this show?
I would overall say yeah.
64.
I'd
It's a
say
64
Zach,
movie.
Yeah.
do you recommend this live action show?
All right.
So
As someone if you've never seen the original animated show, it's watchable, it's likable. You're not going to have many problems with it. But if you are a fan of the show, as I am obsessed with the show, I didn't find it all too great. I get way in the past, I gave it a 3 out of 10.
wild. That's
Damn.
But it's
that's
changed.
like out of
Man,
hand.
No.
No,
It's still a
it's
3 out of
still a
10.
three? Oh.
It's still a 3
You're
out
on
of 10.
crack.
Wow.
That is offensive.
That's like
I
I didn't know this was based in the 80s.
This is me as a hardcore fan. Me as a hardcore fan, this is no better than a 3. If you're, but if I had watched it as someone who hadn't seen the original show, I would say it's about a 6. It's about a 6.
That's certainly an opinion.
Then-
One that I will defend to the death of your
You
right for you to
recommend it?
have.
But look, the positives are that some of the actors are great. The effects are great, but a lot of it just has to do with the pacing and how they chop up the story and mix it all in there. Again, as someone who is obsessed with the show and knows every detail, that's why it's a 3.
Well, I'm not obsessed with the show,
Not yet.
but it's passable. I like it. It was good.
Yeah,
I match with like I think the
audience score.
it's like a 7.
I give it a 7.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling really
Same.
nice about it, 7.5. But
Same.
certain things, but mostly, yeah.
I feel like
Soft 7.
it can get better, like with some of the acting and like some of the pacing, but 7's pretty
It's a
solid.
gusty 7.
It's a Momo 7.
There you go. I'm almost 7. Zach, what are we talking about next time?
All right, gentlemen, we're gonna take this back about 50 years.
Boom.
50 years.
We're gonna take it back. And yes, Anthony, what you had said before, it is black and white.
Oh,
I said it was black and white.
Danny.
Oh,
Danny
okay.
said it was
Are we
black
watching Young Frankenstein?
No,
The music video
No.
of Michael Jackson's song?
no.
Okay.
No, 50 years. This is 64.
64?
Or around 64. I think it's a 64 movie.
Yeah.
All right.
That's 60 years then. You said 50.
Oh no, okay, we're in 24. We're in 24. I'm thinking 14. My God, where am I?
Do the
60
math.
years.
Do the match.
Jeez, God, I'm in 2014 right now.
What is this?
So okay,
black and white
despite
movie. So it's a black and
my
white movie.
math mishap, so the movie that I've decided to choose for us to watch, it's a black comedy. It is, I think this is one of his first movies, but James Earl Jones is in it. Dr. Strangelove.
I knew you would say Dr. Strangelove. Or How I Learned.
It's a black and white comedy.
What's the full
It's
title?
a black and white black comedy.
What's the full
It's,
title? It's a
I
Stanley
think
Kubrick
it's,
movie.
Just
Dr.
Dr.
How I
Strangelove.
learned to
or How I Learned to
Stop worrying
Stop
and love
worrying
the
and
bomb.
love
Stop
bomb.
Worrying and Love the Bomb. That's what
There
it was.
you go.
It's a satirical movie.
Peter Sellers.
With Peter Sellers.
Have we seen another Kubrick movie? Yeah, it was a Full Metal Jacket. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
okay.
yeah, that is another thing too. It is a Stanley Kubrick movie.
That man's going in. Next he's gonna start picking the other wild stuff. Please don't pick Eyes Wide Shut. Please don't. Anyway,
Wild Things.
Wild
Space
Things?
Odyssey.
Okay. Cool. All right, that's exciting.
I don't know where it is.
Zach's like, I want to get some of the
Oh,
classics.
you were just talking about Kubrick movies?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
okay.
like, I want to get the classics in there. All right. So yeah, if you guys feel the same way, if you have other thoughts, please share with us on all of our socials. You've got Threads, X, Instagram. This episode will also be audible on YouTube and as well as your podcast platform of choice. So please definitely reach out. Things that you like, things that you didn't. You know, if you're showing the animated show, the live action to your kids, even try to get them into it too. Like, we'd love to hear those stories as well. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.
Later.